Hello, welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. This is the Business Showcase. I am so pleased to be with you. This is your late lunch hour, and I know that those of you that are out there having lunch, we want to thank you for joining us here today. We have got a lot going on, but those of you that don't know me, I'd like to introduce myself first. I am Cece Shatz. I am fondly called the Doyenne of relationship building. I am a divorce, dating, and a life coach. I'm also the president of Going Solo Network and right here on the Going Solo Media. And we want to thank you guys for listening to us and enjoying our information. I would like very much to connect you with an awesome business leader here today. We are excited to have him on board. Let's bring him forward. We have our guest today, Gary Wilbers. He's a business coach, an author, and a speaker. And Gary, you've been in the business for over 30 years. You've founded more than a dozen companies and you've appeared in more than 200 podcasts. So that's a lot of podcasts. And you've been a coaching business owner for over 10 years. And you're the founder of a wonderful website, which is called Ascend Mastermind. And we want to thank you for being on the show here with us. So welcome.
Well, I appreciate you having me. I'm excited to be able to share with your audience today.
Oh, it is great having you. You've developed your own, over the years, you've developed your own business, and you help people with theirs. And I mean, that is a wonderful thing to do because we all need some help along the way, don't we?
We always do. And, the thing is a lot of times business owners, they think they're solo, that it has to be a solo. And what I found out when I reached out to others in my business early in my career, that's really what really propelled my business to grow and take off. I didn't have to know everything. And that becomes a real indication when you learn from others. You get to learn from their challenges, struggles, but also the things where they had their wins. And that makes it totally different.
Right. So what made you think that this was the way to go for you? I mean, in your path, what took you down this path to decide you wanted to be a business leader and really help, help others along the way?
Well, I think it really was from my own experiences. We get those experiences. When I started my company, there was only two people. I grew it to about 150 people in the organization. I'll be honest, my leadership skills and my business skills had to change because when there's two, you kind of control everything. And then as I grew and got up to 150 people, you can't control 150 people and you have to change your leadership ability. So what I did is as I grew my team, I continued that learning and development. And I realized that the key was really creating the culture. Today we call it culture. Then we would have probably called it environment back in the 90s. But it's about creating a culture that allows people to truly win and thrive. And people want to be part of something. So if you're working somewhere, you get energy from your company if they bring you in and they engage you in the company. But so many companies just look at it as a number, or you're just a person that's covering marketing or a person that's doing sales for us, versus creating an environment where they get excited. And I think that's why I was so excited to be on your show, because it's not just about creating a positive culture in your business, but also personally in your life. How can we grow as individuals? And I got into the business, to be quite honest, because I did that with my company. I brought in training, development. And one of the things I said, I didn't realize at the time, Cece, but what I realized was over time is I wanted to make them a better person. When they came to me, a better person. I didn't care if they was with me 3 months, 6 months. I was hoping 3 or 5 years, but we was in retail sales, so we turned over some people. But I told them my goal was to make you a better person when you leave us than when you came. And since that time, I'll be honest, I've sold that business, of course, and with doing this coaching and with our mastermind service that we have. But I've had employees come back to me and say, I really thank you for what you did. Now I have one of them that I love is she's now an educator. She's a science teacher and she's an awesome teacher. And the funny thing is when she worked for us, she did training. And the thing is, it kind of was a perfect leap for her and stuff. And to see her making a difference in students now, wow, what a gratifying effect it's given to me. So it was a natural transition to say, I want to help other business owners kind of realize those same things and realize they can achieve their dreams, their goals, and really go after it. But make an environment for the people that sets you apart, because that's how you'll keep people longer in your organizations, and you'll grow as a company that way.
Very, very, very well said. I mean, often, I think too that most of our waking hours are at work, right? We work until we actually retire. Then we try to figure out what to do. We start another business, that kind of thing. But the reality is that we really have to not only love what we do, but what we have to like let our personality show within it, right? And so we want it to be positive because we want that positive environment for ourselves. If we want to be selfish about it, we want that also. So it's a good way, it's a good philosophy when you're developing a business that you want to keep it positive. So how would one do that, as they're moving forward in developing their business? And because as you're doing, business itself, the day-to-day muckety muck stuff is not so positive. Sometimes
Right.
we're thinking, ooh, do we really want to do this, right? So how does one keep themselves in maybe a positive attitude?
Well, that's a great question, because the challenge is, the world is negative. And the thing I get asked all the time is, how do I stay positive then? Well, you have to put that in. And Zig Ziglar always said it the best. He was asked one time, this motivation stuff doesn't last. And Zig came back and he was so quick with it and stuff, said right away, he says, yeah, bathing doesn't either. But that's why I recommend it daily. So the key is we have to put that in. But I think for the business owners, they have to really change their mindset. They have to set their mindset, because you could live into right now, we're living in a time, things are slowing down, economy, recessions, political issues, go on and on and on, and it will go on and on. And if we allow ourselves to go down that trail, what do you think we're bringing into our business? What do you think we're bringing to our employees? There's always challenges and problems, but that's part of what a business owner is so good about. They were good at creating, how can I solve those, but to be able to be successful in business. The people that can't solve those, guess what? They can't be in business, because they can't be those problem solvers. So the first thing I think they have to do is work on their mindset. And, some people call it paradigm. Stephen Covey always called it paradigm. But it's that mindset that you have that attitude that you're going to solve it. And, last few years, and it's not just because of COVID, but the world is changing at a rapid pace. The challenge is we aren't staying up with some of that pace. And as business owners, I've heard time and time again, I just can't find good people. I can't do this. I can't do that. And they're saying everything they can't. Well, if you can't, guess what normally happens? You can't accomplish it. But instead, telling ourselves, I can, finding solutions, being willing to learn again, because today it's different than it was 3 years ago of being in business. We have to be constant learners and growers. And I think that's the key, is when you're cultivating that positive culture, what am I willing to learn? So one of the things we have to do is I have to change that mindset myself, so that I come in. Now, I'm not saying the Pollyanna type, put on rose-colored glasses, everything's great. It's not going to be. But the only thing is when we see a problem, instead of saying that's a problem, well, what's the opportunity to do it? Because what happens is people that solve problems, they get paid for it. People that don't solve problems don't get paid for things. So we've got to figure out what are those problems we can solve. And within our own business, when those come up, maybe our market is shifted and the way you do marketing in the past doesn't work anymore. Well, maybe you've got to figure out the new way is what to be able to get those same clients. When you're thinking about getting employees, it's not the same it was before. You can't run, back in the days, I actually ran newspaper ads, You've got to be online. But also, what are you doing within your company to find those good people? And that's where if you create a culture within your team, guess what happens? Your team will bring you good people. And if you create that culture within your company, because guess what? People want to work for a company that has a purpose and has a passion and that has a culture that's fun to work for. They don't want just a job anymore. Everybody wants to have some purpose and passion. And you may say, well, how do I give that to people in my organization? You give them the bigger picture. What are you doing? I don't care if you make widgets or what you do. You have a purpose that's there. And as you share that and allow them to grow and then develop your people, then that becomes kind of the magic trick, because they're saying in the top three things that employees want, pay doesn't come up in the top three, but one of them that does is they want to be developed. They want to be coached. They want to be mentored. And we have to realize is today, the business world, as it's changing, we become that coach and mentor to our team.
Right. I mean, they want to be part of something, right? I mean, I think I get that a lot with our environment here, with all of our wonderful co-hosts that we have, is they want to be part of something that's growing, something that they feel that they contribute, they make a contribution to, and which is why they go on air and they talk and they share things and stuff like that. And there's no way they get compensated for that hour that they spend, like you today here today. There's no way that you could possibly get compensated for that, but it's also part of what it really what you need to do in order to be a part of something, really have your end vision in place. And so that I agree with that. I think that's very, very important. One thing too I also wanted to mention is that so often, when people are being hired, they're part of the workforce, right? They're like the workers,
Right.
worker bees, that kind of thing. But people don't want to be treated like that. No, they don't. They don't want to be. So you have to really, as you're in leadership, you want to make sure that you're cultivating, a positive surrounding for them. So it's not just all work. That it is. Some of it is play. Some of it is fun, and that you allow them to be authentic in their own way. So yeah, I agree with all that.
Yeah, and I think it's so crucial, and that is really realizing that's their team. I did away with employee a long time ago, and we called our employees team members. It's not a big change, but it is a change because I just didn't like the term team employee and stuff. But I wanted them to be part of the team. And of course, a team, there's different sayings out there, but together everyone accomplishes more. But when you find out what they really want, then and you can help provide some of that, boy, that creates loyalty because people are going to stay with you. They say, oh, the younger generations, they're just not loyal. They're not going to stay with you. You create an environment that's fun and exciting and that they're part of a team and they're growing as individuals, they'll stay with you because what they want is that side of it. And then I always laugh because a lot of times it's business owners as we age, we tend to laugh and we say, well, those young generations don't know how to work or they don't know how to do this. The only thing I tell people is remember, if you're pointing your finger at someone, 3 are pointing back at yourself. Guess who created them? I have some of those 24, 22, and 20-year-olds that's in the workforce now. We created them. And then we wonder what happens is whatever they learned and they grew up with, then we try to change it in the workplace and we wonder why they don't fit in. Mm-hmm. Well, we talked about team and collaboration, working together and all those things. And then they get in silos in businesses and they're supposed to work by themselves. Instead, it's about that team collaboration. And that becomes the real key is you get them to working on teams and for a bigger project, you'll get great results out of that team and you make a difference there. But you have to cultivate. That's why I say cultivate the positive culture, not only within yourself, but within your team. Because when you cultivate it, that's what you're creating. And it doesn't always mean we all can't be Google and Microsoft and them and have tennis tables and everything else in the lunch rooms and all the food they can eat and drink. No, it's just about having a collaborative effort where we're all working together, but they know what the goals are. And this is one of them for small businesses, Cece, that I fall into all the time. People really don't know where their business is going. Mm-hmm. They don't really have a set goal besides, well, we want to do better than last year. But their people don't even know what last year was. And I don't say you have to open up all your books. There's some benefits to that. But the thing is, they need to know what the goals are and where you're kind of headed as a company. And that's why it's so important. I try to work with business owners. Let's create your 3-year vision. Let's create your 3-year vision. I tell people all the time, most business owners, they have vision, but they have no clarity, meaning they're not sure how they'll get there. And the first thing they have to do is uncover that for themselves, then start to uncover that for their team. And when that happens, that's when the synergy starts to happen and great things start to happen in that business, and they're able to move forward.
Yeah, that's great. You're so right. I mean, I think too that because we're moving so quickly, right? Our
Mm-hmm.
environment is constantly evolving, technology is changing, things are happening. We have to stay on top of it. So we need to have, like we used to say before, it was like 5-year goal, 10-year goal. Like we really can't have, even though we have to have a vision, we can't have it so far out because we're forever changing. And so if we do like a 3-year and then we say, okay, this year we're going to do this, and we start putting our plan together, our path together, then we can definitely do it. So I can definitely see that would be good, because as you're moving forward, you can kind of do a little sidestep or whatever as you're growing,
Yeah.
that you can make changes quickly within the environment to adapt to whatever's happening. Because like with COVID, things happened.
Oh, I saw that coming.
Yeah, that was real fast, and everybody had a real wake up call. And now we're rethinking our business world today. Many people are working from home still. Do they want to work from home? Then they're having different issues, anxieties, and whatever working from home. So there's like a whole bunch of other things that I think people in leadership role have to understand that, because you're not dealing with people in the office, you're dealing with them remotely. And so that's a whole nother bag of nuts there, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, you're exactly right, because what has to happen is we as leaders, if we're not staying up on top of things, we don't understand it. We
Mhm.
just think, gosh, these people that they just don't get it. All I hear is about this stress and anxiety and that side, and they don't get it. But the thing is if you stay up on it, and especially if you have a group, one thing I work with is in masterminds, I have peer advisory boards, and they're working with each other. So they get to hear each other's problems and challenges, but they also get to hear how they overcome those.
Mhm.
And that becomes a real key, because too many business owners seclude themselves. And when they seclude themselves and they just are head straight, kind of working in their business all the time, then the problem is they're never working on the business. They're the ones that are getting passed by, because then it's going too fast, because all they're doing is working just to try to keep up. Instead, they don't realize that if they took the head from out underneath the sand, then look out, they're going to be able to see solutions that come. And sometimes you don't get all the solutions, but when you bring people together, just like you've got a community here of bringing people together, you see other ways to do it. And the one thing you'll find out, I've done this multiple years now, over 6 years, we've had our mastermind groups and stuff. And people's problems, they always think they're so unique, they're so different. Their problem is the same. It's just different for a plumbing company than it may be for a construction company. But guess what? The problems are all still very similar. And when you get group think behind that, then they get to really go in and change it. Plus, what does it do? It gets them excited again to be able to make those changes in their business. So now they're ready to go make those things happen. And they hear how the other people do it. Like I hear all the time right now, hiring. I can't find good people. I can't find good people. Well, the problem is you may be hiring the wrong people to start with. So the question is, do you have a process for hiring? And like I said before, is a lot of times if you have a really good culture, you don't have to hire externally. You can let your people know, and they'll let you know the next best candidate that's there. And then you bring up remote work. What a great one, Cece. There's so many business owners I'm seeing that they're fighting it, saying, oh, in small business, we can't do remote. They've got to be in person. I had a gentleman that took a person that wanted to work 3 days a week, 8 to 8:30 to 2:30, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays, and had more skills and stuff on that side. So he decided to do this. And the person working remotely and stuff, he said that person's getting more work done than the person's working full time for him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think they do kind of overwork when you work remotely,
Yeah.
because you get into it, right? And there's nobody to stop you. There's nobody stopping by your desk for a little chat here and there. You sometimes don't even take your lunch because you're or you get your lunch and you'll sit at your desk and you'll work. And yeah, no, I think definitely. What I like so much about your mastermind is that connection that you have. Because even if you are working remotely, or even if you are having trouble as a business leader, you still have that connection, and we need that, as we continue. And we saw that during COVID, is that people would they just, I mean, because I have been in the internet world for a long time now, right? And so when started in internet radio, everybody poo-pooed me. What are you doing that? You need to go. And I actually was on our community TV for a while, did that kind of, but it was very expensive. And so I thought, you know what? I think the way of the future is internet. So I'm going internet, you know? And so I did the internet. And what I found is that I think that we had to kind of evolve, and we have to understand that things are changing quickly, and that we have to really look at things. So I think that people that are working remotely, even though they're working remotely, they still need that connection, because we were seeing that with people getting on. Now everybody's on the internet, right? But we saw them get on the internet just to be connected. They needed that human touch. They needed that voice. They needed that guidance as they were continuing on. And so I think your mastermind. Oh, what's happened here? Are you still there? I don't know
Yes.
what happened. Like the lights went out here on my side. Scared me. I was in the dark. But anyhow, so I do apologize for that. But yeah, no, I think your mastermind is great because it allows people to connect, and no matter where they're at, they can still connect and get the advice that they need, get that connection that they need, because we need that. Yeah, definitely.
Well, we are meant for that human connection. I mean,
Mhm.
there's plenty of stories, and there's some surveys, 75-year-old studies that's out there showing that we're meant for that human connection. And we've got to have that human connection to people. And we can get it this way because, I don't have to be right next to Cece. I'm on a totally different state and everything else, but I'm getting that human connection through this right here. But then what I did with my mastermind, we do that weekly with them, but then we bring them together twice a year also in what I call a live event. So to get to deepen those relationships, because that's sometimes a little bit harder. And boy, when you do that after they've come to a live event on the event, then that takes the connection to another level. And that's the one thing I would tell you is definitely connect with people, and you can definitely do it virtually. But then when you're able to incorporate that in your business, same way as your people, even if you have remote workers, you want to bring them in on that connection. But figure out at least a couple times a year that they either come in and that they have enough notice and everything else, but they come into the organization and you do some, if it's workshops or if it's kind of your brainstorming to set next year's goals or whatever, but they come in because that'll deepen that relationship even tighter. So then when you're virtual, it's not that that person is just totally virtual. They're getting to know each other each and every time. And that's when really kind of the magic starts to happen when you put the combination of those two together. I know a gentleman that's in my mastermind, he works remotely, but 3 times a year, and they know when the dates are. 3 times a year as the company brings them in to the home area. They don't come to the home office because it's not big enough, but to that same area, and they meet. And it really sets the stage of them progressing their goals. So they know every 4 months they're getting together as a team, as a group, and it really heightens what the company is able to do, because when they go back, they kind of know what the charge is for the next 4 months.
Right, right. It kind of charges them up again.
Yep.
Let's see, we've got. Oh, here, Elena says yes, and she says people really need that. We do for sure. Absolutely. Well, I think this is a good time to take a quick break. So when we come back, let's talk a little bit about what we can do, like the plan that people can make as they're progressing in their business, and throw some, of your master skills on us a little bit here.
Okay.
We would love to be able to have that, pick your brain a little bit, but we love having you here with us. It's absolutely a pleasure. And so I want to make sure before we go, everyone knows how to get a hold of you. You can reach him on his email, which is Wilbers, Wilbers at GOASCEND dot BIZ. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
So it's go ascend.biz is what it is, and that's his website, goascend.biz. And so I want to make sure I spell it out, GOASCEND.biz. Those of you that are listening in a podcast format, because we don't always have it in the video. But we love y'all. We hope you contact him, because if you're looking for a business, if you're looking for a business mindset, you can definitely check out his website. He's got information there, and this way you're not totally all by yourself as you're moving through your business, and you can really connect with some awesome individuals that will help you move you through, and that's what it's about. So thank you so much for being with us here. We're going to be right back, and so just hang on tight and grab your sandwich and your lunch and enjoy. Take a bite for us, and we'll be right back.
Dear Jeffrey, I'm writing to you to remind you that Mother's Day is coming fast upon us. I'm also writing to remind you that your mother and I will have been married 50 years that day. Son, I was window shopping at Quest Fine Jewelers in Fairfax the other day. As you know, Quest Jewelers has been our family jeweler for over 20 years. This year again, Quest Jewelers didn't disappoint. They have so many fine pieces of jewelry, and the staff there were so friendly and helpful. The quality and brilliance of Quest Jewelry has always made the perfect gift for our family. Son, I found your mother Mother's Day pendant necklace and a very special 50th wedding anniversary ring I'm sure she'll be very excited about. Let's meet there this Saturday and get the perfect gift for your mom for this Mother's Day. Who knows? Maybe you will find something for your girlfriend, baby. Quest Fine Jewelers is located at 8431 New Highway, Fairfax, Virginia. Their website, www.questjewelry.com. Or you can call them at 703-204-0111.
Welcome back. You guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. This is the Business Showcase. I am Cece Shatz. I am your host today. We are so pleased to have you on the show here with us. We are talking with Gary Wilbers. He's a business coach and author speaker. We're talking about cultivating a positive culture in your life. Gary has a wonderful website. It's Ascend Mastermind. So check it out, you guys. It's very important that you do that. It's goascend.biz is the website, and we'll show that to you here. Let me do that real quick. We'll show that to you so you guys can write it down. And we're talking about really how to be a little bit more positive. How can you move forward? And the first part of the show, we talked about that. We talked about the importance of a connection with other people. We talked about how wonderful a mindset, being able to having your mindset in a positive way, connecting with people possibly through your Ascend Mastermind group, and how important that is to connecting with other like-minded individuals that have kind of been there where you've been, right? They've kind of walked that walk. And so let's talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts of what you do. And so you had mentioned, like the first part of the show, that a lot of businesses seem to have the same kind of issues, right? I mean, it might be a little bit different, a plumber from electrician to a, like me, a coach. So what would you say, is the most common problem that you're hearing?
Well, I think one of them for the business owners is, I think, this freedom of time. They got in the business thinking that they were going to have more time, more flexibility, more freedom. And what they found is now they're stuck in the day-to-day operations of their business, and they're putting in that 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and they don't have the capability to be able to get away from their business. So they can't even really take a vacation. If they go on a vacation is I check my email 3 times a day, and they can get a hold of me on my phone or send me a text message, and I'm always responding to it. So I'm not present with my family, and we can't truly get a vacation. So what I see is business owners get so stuck in that, because what happens is they think the business has to revolve completely around them. And this is one of those concepts that really, it frustrates the business owner. But the only problem is it also, they're so used to it that they've almost it's become like a drug. It's addictive, because guess what? They need me. And we like to feel needed as individuals. So business owners, and it will really, what can happen is a business, when they're in that stage, can't scale. So the things I think people have to do is, number one, they have to step back, and they need to look at their operations and what are they truly doing each and every day. Because normally when they're doing this, no longer they're giving vision to their company. They're not propelling it forward. Really, they're just trying to survive. So the first thing they have to look at is, what do I need to get me out of the day-to-day business on that side of it? Is there somebody on staff that can handle that? Because most business owners are what? They're great visionaries. They like to dream a lot. They like to create things. They like to make things happen. But the only problem is, a lot of times the business owner is not a very good, what they call in rocket fuel, integrator, the person that will actually make it happen, because they don't have that skill set. Plus it frustrates them on that part of it. So what I tell people all the time, you've got to look, what are you missing on your team? Maybe it's already on your team, but what do you need to really take that person, allow them to run with that, to allow you to do what you're best at? Because too many business owners are not doing what they're best at. What gives them energy? What excites them? What would, if they had a perfect day in the business, what would that look like? And then when you know what you're missing, then you either go hire for it if you have to, or you find someone that's maybe on your team that has that. But you really got to find skill sets that fit that, and you identify those skill sets. And if a person does that, that becomes one of the first things where it can free up some of their time, so that they're not in that day-to-day. I'm not saying not in it at all, but they're not in it all the time. Instead, they're spending about 20% of their time there, and the 80%, they're the ones generating how to take this business to the next level for their business. Plus, then when they get free time, I hear this all the time. Well, I've got to check my email when I'm on vacation. I said, why? And they said, well, I just have to. I said, put an out of office vacation message on there. People will honor that. If you have to be reached, or do like I do. I had my assistant, she checked my email while I was gone. If there was something urgent, there's only 3 in my business. If there was something so urgent, she knew how to get out of me. I was gone 10 days. She never reached out to me. We didn't have to communicate at all, but she kind of knew to be able to get back. But most people, when they see that you're going to be out of the office, they want to honor that, because what do they want? When they're out of their office, they want it to be honored too.
Right.
So give yourself that time and space, but figure out what's missing to free you up. I know it's a cliche, but it's so true. So many business owners are working in the business that they're not working on it enough. And that's one of the things we try to do with our mastermind. Is the first thing is they got to get out of the day-to-day cycle of the business, and they need to be the true operator of the business owner or the entrepreneur, versus being the person that's making the widgets or creating everything and making everything happen. And find that person is either on your team, because right away some people will say, yeah, that would be nice, but I don't have the luxury to go hire that person and stuff. Well, then you may have that person on your team. Then reassign what their responsibilities are and put them in that area, and let them be that person that pushes projects along. Because number one, for most business owners, that will propel their energy level, because now they're doing things that they truly are excited about and doing 80% of the time. 20%, you're going to have to do some of them things that you don't want, but that makes a huge difference for the business owner.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I mean, I know even myself, I'm the worst person to think that I've got to do it all, that kind of.
Mhm.
So yeah, I totally agree with that. So what is the next step? I mean, I think a lot of people do complain about, and I've heard it too, is about like your finances. You don't have the finances to really get people on your team, that kind of thing. Any suggestion with that kind of problem?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we have to do, especially over this last year to 18 months, is we really have to look at our pricing structures. If you haven't changed, guess what happened to inflation? You're now losing 10 to 15% of your margin because of what's happened with inflation. So you may say, oh, I can't raise my prices. Well, we really need to take a hard look at that. Where are we on our pricing mechanism? You've got to look at your cost factors and know they went up. If you're in the service industry and you're driving vehicles, gas went up. So all those things that compound on that, don't get stuck that people won't pay in more. Any business that's around, otherwise you won't be around, has increased costs. So figure out what that is. And again, let's use the easy math of 100 customers, and let's say I increased by 20% on that side. And some people are right now choking, some business owners are, because I can't raise that much. But say you raise 20% and you lose 20% of your customers, you're still going to be in the positive because 80% of them took that price increase that's there. Now, I don't want you to lose any of them, but we will lose some maybe. But the only thing is, they'll probably come back to you because if you give great service and you take care of your clients and customers, guess what? Somebody down the road that's cheaper, most likely can't do it better. You know, I'm on that part of it. So if you've got a really good business and you've got a great customer service behind it and stuff, they'll come back. Yeah, they may leave you the first time. I had one of my clients do this, and he raised his prices and increased those. And what he found out, he lost a few customers. But over the next several months, guess what? They started coming back because they didn't get the same level of service that they got from that company. So that's when you set apart, your company sets apart, then you can demand that. And sometimes we get stuck in this, our own mindset. Oh, I can't increase costs because my costs are going up. So guess what happens? You push that on your business, and then you're trying to make it on razor thin margins. And then guess what happens? Then you lose your people because you can't give them raises. So it just goes through the cycle. So I think that's the first thing we have to do. We have to look at our pricing, and we have to really, I'm not saying be aggressive, but you got to know that costs have went up over the last 18 months. And if you haven't changed your pricing, your margin's shrinking.
Right. That's great advice. And that's so true. Now, the last question I'm going to ask you is what about marketing? Because marketing is always the key to every business, right? And I think we've shifted a little bit in our marketing because it's not like it used to be, newspapers and,
Yeah.
those kind of things. We're going to the internet, we're doing some different things. So what would you say if someone's got a small amount of money in which to spend in marketing? What would you say to them?
Find an intern, find a kid that's in college. And guess what? They would have a blast doing it. But learn from them too of what they're doing and stuff. Because you may only have them for a semester or two, and then maybe they can get you enough business. But the thing is, instead of saying I can't be on the internet, there's still people, Cece, that don't have a business profile page on Google. That's the yellow pages, folks. You don't have to even pay for it. But if you don't have that optimized and put in place, are you missing business? You're running your business to the other people because guess what? When people are looking at it, they're looking on that phone. They're not even doing like I like checking it out on my computer still because I'm old. But guess what? My kids, if they want to know about something, what's near me, they pull it up like that. Get them to optimize it. Go to a college or a community college in your area and say, hey, who's your best marketing student? I want to hire that person. Or would they be interested in an intern? If they do an internship, pay them. Don't just get them for free. Pay them because guess what they're going to do? And guess what could happen? They could be in their junior and senior year, and guess what? They're working for a position to go to work for. You could be their first employer maybe. And then they come on and they could really set the system in. But if it's not an intern, find someone that's young like that maybe wants to do it part-time on the side. There's people like that all over. But if you're not using the internet to generate business today, you're missing out. And let's say you're even on there. People are on the internet. but they don't know if their stuff is indexed, is profiled right and stuff. Get somebody that will check that out and make sure that it is. Because I find out a lot of business owners, they may have a Google page, but they don't have it all set up. They don't have like their R's down. They don't have all the information they need to have. Make sure you get that set up. And that's just one example. Social media, we fall in the same thing, but let that person help guide you in that.
Yeah. I mean, there's also like LinkedIn, and I think
Right.
some don't know about, there's a new one out. It's called Alignable. Alignable
Yes. Heard of that.
is big too. It's getting very big. Actually, I was businesswoman of the year there for when they first started. So yeah. So no, I totally get it. I mean, I think a lot of things are evolving, and rather than think that it's a negative thing, I think we have to think that it's positive, right? And embrace the changes that are happening around us, and really, grab a hold of that as we're building our businesses and moving forward. And I want to really thank you for being on the show. Are there any last words you'd like to share with our audience?
The biggest thing to remember, you are the one that has to change first. That becomes the key. That's why I started with mindset. You have to be the one to change. And when you change, you will become a better person, but also that will change your business and change your life. So that becomes the real key. Remember, when you point your finger at someone, 3 are pointing back at yourself. So make that change for yourself. And when you do that, great things are going to happen. And I wish you well on your way. And if there's anything I can do, please reach out to me.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. You've been a wonderful, wonderful guest. And so everyone, if you guys want to reach out to him, it's G Wilbers, Wilbers, at goascend.biz. And of course, that's his website, ascend, ASCEND.biz. So definitely check it out. You've got some great information on there. And then, of course, you guys can join. He's the founder right here. I'll put it up. He's the founder of Ascend Mastermind. He's a speaker, author, trainer, and coach, knows his stuff. He's been in the business for years. And so grab a hold of that, get that wisdom, right? When you can, you want to really connect with people that really know what they're doing. And definitely, Gary, you do. So thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, Cece. You're doing some great work sharing the information that you're sharing and really making a difference to the people that listen and follow you and watch you. And I'm so excited about what you're doing and what you're giving to the marketplace. Thank you for what you're doing each and every day.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, everyone, you're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. This is the Business Showcase. I am Cece Shatz. I hope that you'll watch all of our other hosts on goingsolomedia.com, and we want to be here for you. So just check it out. We love you. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye for now.